My first day in America. This presentation shares the experiences of immigrants' first day in America, from a Russian immigrant after World War I to 3 British immigrants spanning over 3 decades. In the aftermath of World War I, many Europeans fled Europe amidst an economic crisis and a high degree of uncertainty. Hundreds of thousands boarded ships with no money and very few belongings to seek a better life in America. This is the story of George, a Russian immigrant who immigrated to America shortly after World War I. The ship arrived in America at 5 o'clock in the morning after 37 days at sea. He was anxious as he spent all his money on food on the journey and he had no money to land. He talks about heading down the gangplank to a big room. Some passengers are armed with pictures trying to match them to relatives. Many did not have money, so they rented monies to pass through the inspectors. George was approached by another Russian who pointed out to him that his caracul hat was not a good fit, and if he wanted to blend in and look like an American, he needed a cap. He traded his caracul, and the man gave him a cap and $1. George got his papers stamped and collected his bags. He tore up his landing papers, passport, and visa, thinking that there was no way they could prove he was not a citizen. As he stepped ashore, he saw streets, people, noises, faces flashing by, and so much motion back and forth that it hurt his eyes. It was all so overwhelming. George's friend offered to show him what to do and took him to an employment agency where they conveniently spoke Russian. He was asked what he could do and said he worked with decorative leathers like crops and made swords. They reminded him that he was in America now, and he was offered a position as a dishwasher. George's first assignment was to wash some glasses. He managed to break all of them. Lunchtime came around, he was ready to eat and was informed that he couldn't eat until after they were closed and it would be leftovers, so he helped himself anyway. He was enjoying his meal when he was caught red-handed, and he was not a profitable hire, and he was asked and paid to leave. He was given a brown paper bag. He walked for many hours trying to talk to people in English without much success. He came upon a park and decided to lay down in the grass to rest. He finally decided to look into the paper bag and find a bologna sandwich and a nickel. He was pondering what to do next and decided to get some sleep. He was awoken by a policeman that told him he could not sleep on the grass but was welcome to use one of the benches. He tried it, but they were very uncomfortable. He spent his nickel on some peanuts and fed the squirrels. He found a spot under a rock on a bluff and was able to build a fire out of twigs, where he broiled his bologna and ate the bread and was ready to get some sleep. So far, his experiences in America had been exhausting and not so successful. He was awoken by the lights from a car that had broken down. He watched the driver try to fix it for over an hour and offered to help. He tried a number of things to fix it and finally kicked the radiator hard, and lo and behold, it started. The driver was amused by his antics and walked up and introduced himself. The American tried talking to him, but he struggled and had to pull out his dictionary. He found the words, and the gentleman offered him a job, a bed, and food. He drove him to his home and ate his fill. Then he got to sleep in a bed. His first day in America was eventful, to say the least. America is definitely a country where anything can happen. Now we fast forward to 1976. A Scottish girl flew from the UK to San Francisco with her family to start a new life in America. Jane was interviewed about her memories of her first day in America. She moved from Steventon, Scotland to San Francisco in 1976. She was only 14 years old at the time. It wasn't her first visit. She had been to America before on vacation. She moved to America with her mom and dad to live with their aunt. Once they left the airport, it was so different. She noticed everything was bigger. The cars, the roads, the countryside was different. You couldn't tell when you left one city to another. They were all joined together by buildings, huge buildings, all new looking. When they finally got to her aunt's house, that was huge too, and there were no doors. Now we fast forward to 1984. An Englishwoman flew from the UK to Philadelphia to start a new life in America with her husband. Suzanne was interviewed about her memories on her first day in America. She moved from Shoreline, England to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was 1984. She was 23 at the time. Suzanne's first experience was in line at customs, pointing at a banner featuring the Liberty Bell, and was laughing and telling her husband that it was broken. She didn't know what it was at the time. Her husband joked with her and pointed out a medieval tower. Clearly, there were no medieval towers or castles as you would find in England. She was totally amazed at how friendly everyone was and was uncomfortable at first, but grew to live with it. Now we fast forward to 1994, the year when my mother, an Englishwoman, flew from Frankfurt, Germany, where my father had been stationed, and when they had met and married, and when they moved to Los Angeles to start a new life with him getting out of the military. I interviewed my mother, Lisa Gerten, on her memories of her first day in America. She moved from Mönchengladbach, Germany to Los Angeles in 1994. She was 30 at the time. My mother moved to America and was going to live with my dad's mom in Los Angeles. The size of my grandmother's car was astounded her. It was huge, like 3 British cars all rolled into one. She was horrified at the freeways of 10 lanes and packed with cars going everywhere. Los Angeles was built up in so much concrete that she was not used to. She was very uncomfortable ordering breakfast and could not believe all the choices that she had been offered. In the UK, you just simply ordered eggs, bacon, and toast. To this day, myself and my sister still make fun of her when we're at a restaurant and she tries to order water because they do not understand her. One time recently, she tried to order water and they brought her a beer instead. America has always been referred to as the land of opportunity. For over a century, immigrants have traveled to America via boats and planes, all searching for the same thing: a better life for themselves and their families. This presentation shared only some of their stories.